I never used to be afraid of the dark. Growing up, I actually found it peaceful, quiet, calming. But after what happened during the blackout last October, I can't sleep without some kind of light on. It was Saturday, October 21st. I remember the date because the weather had been unusually rough that week. High winds, thunderstorms, and power lines snapping all over the town. The local news even advised people to avoid going out after dark. I wasn't worried. I had candles, backup flashlights, even a portable power bank. That evening, I stayed in. I ordered food around 7 p.m., watched a couple of YouTube videos, and texted my friend Jake about catching up later in the week. By 9:15 p.m., the wind outside had picked up so much that the walls seemed to vibrate with every gust. Rain pelted the windows like small rocks. Then, the lights went out. It wasn't gradual. There was no flicker this time, just complete and sudden darkness. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust. The silence that followed was unsettling. No hum from the fridge, no streetlights, no neighbors' music through the walls. Just wind, rain, and an overwhelming emptiness. I lit a few candles, placed them around the living room, and sat back down. My phone showed 47% battery. No signal. That's when I heard the first sound, a knock. But it wasn't at the front door. It came from the back window. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I froze. I live on the second floor of a 2-story duplex. That window faces the backyard, and there's no balcony or ledge to stand on. No trees nearby either. It's at least 14 feet off the ground. I stood completely still, trying to hear anything else. The wind howled, rain hammered the roof. Then, the knock came again. 3 knocks, harder this time. I wanted to believe it was a branch or the storm, but something in me knew it wasn't. I grabbed my flashlight and cautiously stepped toward the back of the house. I didn't part the curtain, just shined the flashlight through the fabric. Nothing. I waited, and then I saw a silhouette. Someone was standing outside the window. I couldn't make out their features, just the outline. Broad shoulders, long arms, head tilted slightly to the side, unmoving, silent, as if they were listening. I backed away slowly. The knock didn't come again. Instead, my phone buzzed. A motion alert from my smart doorbell camera, the one facing the front porch. The timestamp was 9:42 p.m. That didn't make sense. I was just at the back of the house. No one could have moved from the backyard to the front porch that fast. Not in this weather, not without making a sound. I opened the app. There he was again. Same silhouette, same posture. Just standing there, staring directly into the camera. No umbrella, soaked, barefoot, and completely still. The clip lasted 10 seconds. Then the image glitched and he was gone. I rewound the footage. Frame by frame, in the final second, it looked like he moved, not off the porch, but into the camera, as if he was walking straight toward the lens. But I didn't hear the door open. It was still locked. Then something terrifying happened. All the candles in the living room went out, simultaneously. No wind, no breeze, just gone. And in the silence that followed, I heard it again. Footsteps. Upstairs. Slow, steady, wet footsteps, moving from one room to the next, just like before. I called out, "Who's there?" No answer, just more footsteps. Closer this time. I went to the staircase and pointed my flashlight upward. The hallway at the top was dark, but the light caught something on the floor, a handprint. A wet human handprint on the wooden step. I didn't go up. Instead, I quietly backed away toward the front door, trying to control my breathing. I was about to unlock the deadbolt when I felt it. Someone was behind me. I didn't hear them. I didn't see them. But every part of my body screamed it. I turned around in one fast motion, flashlight raised. No one. But the mirror by the wall, it caught something. For the briefest second, I saw a reflection. A pale face, gaunt, sunken eyes, lips stretched into a faint smile, staring directly over my shoulder. I spun again. Still no one there, but the air smelled different. Wet, rotten, like pond water and old meat. I ran to the door and finally unlocked it. I didn't care about the rain or the storm or my phone. I just bolted into the night and didn't stop running until I reached Jake's place 3 blocks away. When I told him what happened, he thought I was messing with him, until we checked the doorbell footage again. The clip was different this time. Instead of the man standing outside, he was inside, behind the glass of the front door, standing behind me as I stared at the screen. What happened next? I didn't return to my house for a week. Jake went with me when I finally did. Everything was normal, except for the guest room closet. The scratching on the wall had grown longer. The message now said, "I see you. I know where you sleep. I left something behind." We never found what he meant by that. But sometimes, late at night, I wake up to the sound of 3 slow knocks on my window. And every time I check, there's nothing outside. But the floor is wet. If that story gave you chills, make sure to hit the like button, share it with a fellow horror fan, and subscribe with notifications on. We bring you true, spine-tingling stories every week. And trust me, the next one is even more disturbing. I live alone in a 3rd-floor apartment in an older building in Chicago. The kind of building where the hallway lights flicker randomly, the elevator groans every time you use it, and the walls are just thin enough that you can hear your neighbor sneeze. But despite its age, I always felt safe in my place. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. That changed last November. It was a Thursday evening, cold, wet, gray. I had just come home from work, drenched from head to toe despite my oversized umbrella. The rain had started in the afternoon, but by nightfall, it was a full-blown thunderstorm. Wind howled down the alley between buildings. The kind of weather where you just want to curl up, turn on some background noise, and forget the world. I changed into dry clothes, heated up some leftover soup, and flopped onto the couch. The rain tapping on the window was oddly soothing. I remember thinking, finally, a peaceful night. I was wrong. At exactly 9:33 p.m., I heard a knock on my front door. It was soft. 3 taps. I wasn't expecting anyone. No friends visiting, no deliveries. I almost didn't get up, but curiosity won. I approached the door, peeked through the peephole. No one was there. I opened the door just a crack. The hallway was completely empty, silent, except the floor just outside my door was wet, as if someone had come in from the storm and stood there for a while. But there were no footprints, just a damp patch. I closed and locked the door, trying to brush it off. Maybe someone knocked on the wrong door. But 10 minutes later, it happened again. 3 soft knocks, same rhythm, same volume. This time, I rushed to the peephole. Still no one. I didn't open the door. I pressed my ear against the wood, and I heard it, breathing. Very faint, but unmistakable. Someone was standing on the other side, trying to be silent, trying not to be caught. Then a voice. It was barely above a whisper. "Let me in. I'm cold." I stepped back, heart racing. It wasn't the voice of a normal person. It was off, like someone pretending to sound calm, but missing the tone of actual human emotion. Robotic, hollow. I called the building manager. No answer. I called building security. They said they'd send someone up. 15 minutes passed. No one came. I stayed near the window, trying to calm my nerves, and that's when I saw him. Across the street, under the flickering street lamp, stood a man in a long coat, completely soaked. His head was tilted slightly up, and I could swear he was staring straight at my window. I stepped away immediately. There's no way he could tell which window was mine, right? Another 10 minutes passed. Nothing. No more knocking. Until I went to the kitchen. The floor near the sink was wet. Not a leak, not from the ceiling. It was as if someone with dripping feet had stood there, unmoving. I didn't hear a door open, and I never saw anyone come in. I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I owned and checked every room, every closet. Nothing. I double-checked all locks. Deadbolt was still in place. I called 911. They said they'd send an officer to do a wellness check. While I waited, I sat on the couch holding the knife with white knuckles, flashlight in my lap. That's when I saw it. Just above the doorframe, something scratched into the wood. I hadn't noticed it before. It said, "I watch the ones who watch me." It was faint, fresh, like someone had done it with a key or a nail. I started to shake. I took a photo and sent it to a friend with no context. I just needed someone else to see it, to know I wasn't going crazy. The officer arrived 20 minutes later. He was calm and polite, but I could tell he didn't take me seriously. He walked through the apartment, no signs of a break-in, nothing disturbed. He told me to call if it happened again, then left. I barely slept that night. But the next day, things got worse. When I came home from work Friday evening, my apartment smelled off, like mildew, wet earth, and something metallic. I checked the bathroom, dry. I checked the kitchen, dry. Then I walked into my bedroom. and stopped. There, on my nightstand, was something I had never seen before. A single black glove, dripping wet, folded neatly, right next to my pillow. I fell backward into the hall. My chest felt tight. I almost vomited. I didn't sleep at home that night. I packed a bag and stayed at my coworker's place. I didn't care if I sounded paranoid anymore. I went back Saturday afternoon with a friend and a camera. We looked through everything. The glove was gone, but above my bed, on the wall, another scratch mark. It was a drawing this time, a stick figure standing in rain, facing a window, and behind him another figure, no face, no hands, just a dark shape, standing directly behind. Epilogue. It's been months now. I moved out in January, haven't experienced anything since. But I still think about those nights. I think about the voice whispering, "Let me in." I think about the glove, the water, the message above the door. And I wonder, did he ever leave, or did he follow me? Because every time it rains now, I hear the softest knock on the wall behind my bed, and I no longer keep windows open, not even a crack. I've never really believed in ghosts, demons, or anything supernatural. I was always the rational friend, the one who found explanations for creaky floors, flickering lights, or sleep paralysis. But what happened in apartment 203 took that comfort away from me. It wasn't just something I saw or heard. It was something that knew I was there. Something that reacted to me. Something that waited. The beginning. It was September 2022 when I moved into that small studio apartment in Milwaukee. I had just gotten out of a rough breakup, needed a fresh start, and found this cheap place in an older brick building downtown. The hallway smelled like dust and old carpet, but the space was mine. I didn't mind the creaky floorboards, the noisy radiator, or the occasional flicker in the hallway lights. My unit 203 had one strange feature, a second door inside the apartment. It looked like it used to lead somewhere, but it had no handle, just an old-style lock painted over several times. It was right next to the closet, not connected to anything, just a sealed white door. I didn't think much of it at first. Every building has quirks, right? The first signs. 3 nights after moving in, I noticed it. At exactly 2:23 a.m., I heard a soft tap, tap, tap from the wall near that door. I sat up in bed. It stopped. I got up, turned on the lights. Nothing. The door looked the same. Sealed, silent. I brushed it off as pipes or old wood shifting. But it kept happening, always between 2 and 3 a.m. Sometimes it was tapping. Other nights it sounded like faint scratching. One night I swore I heard whispering, like someone murmuring just behind the door, but their words were too soft to understand. Still, I didn't panic. Until one morning I noticed something new. There were fingerprints on the white paint of the door. Not mine, too small, too long. They looked stretched, almost unnatural. I tried to clean them, but they wouldn't come off. The door opens. A week later I came home from work and dropped my bag like usual. I turned on the light and froze. The door was slightly open, just an inch, but that was enough. That door had been sealed, no handle, no keyhole. I had shoved a laundry hamper in front of it and it hadn't moved. And now it was open. I approached it slowly. My heart was pounding. There was nothing visible inside, just darkness, like a void, not a room, not even a wall. I shut it and shoved my heavy dresser against it. Then I piled boxes on top. That night, I barely slept. At exactly 2:37 a.m., I woke to the sound of the boxes falling. I rushed to the corner. The dresser had been pushed, not tipped over, pushed forward about a foot. The door still shut, but the boxes were scattered. As I stood there trying to make sense of it, I noticed something scratched into the door frame. Let me look. The hole. 2 days later, I decided to document everything. I started filming short clips of the door each night before bed. On the 5th night, when reviewing the footage, I saw something. At 2:41 a.m., in the middle of the clip, the door jolted slightly, not enough to open, but enough to rattle. And in the corner of the frame, the lighting changed. Just for a second, it looked like a shadow moved across the wall behind me. I turned around, nothing. But then I noticed something new. On the door near the baseboard was a small hole, like something had been chewing or clawing through the bottom. I crouched to get a closer look, and I swear to you, Something blinked inside the hole, like an eye watching. The final night, I contacted the landlord again. This time, I demanded he check it out himself. He reluctantly came the next afternoon with a maintenance guy. They didn't believe me, thought I was overreacting. But when the maintenance guy tried to open the door, it wouldn't move, not even an inch. He said it's sealed tight, just like it was built that way. I showed him the scratches, the fingerprints, the videos. He went pale. They left, promised to send someone to inspect the wall itself in a few days. That night was the worst. At exactly 2:45 a.m., the lights in my apartment cut out completely. Not the building, just my unit. I got out of bed, flashlight in hand, and aimed it at the corner. The dresser had moved. The door was wide open. And inside wasn't a room, it was just blackness. A cold wind blew out of it, and with it a whisper, "You look too long." I turned to run, but the hallway in my apartment was now longer than before, endless. The door behind me slammed shut, and in the flashlight beam, I saw them. Hands, dozens of them, crawling along the walls, long, thin fingers reaching toward me. Escape. I don't remember how I got out. I think I passed out. When I woke up, it was daylight and the door was closed. The furniture was back in place, but on the ceiling above my bed was a message scratched in long, jagged letters. "You live with us now." I moved out the same day. To this day, I haven't found any record of that door existing in the original floor plans. The unit next door, it's sealed too. I don't care what it was, but if you ever move into an old apartment and you see a door that seems like it shouldn't be there, leave. Don't wait for it to open, because when it does, it might already be too late.